What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of Laying the Points with Luca Rosano. I'm your host, Luca Rosano, and boy, oh boy, do we have quite the show ready for all of you. We got a lot to get to. It's going to be a show for the ages as we had one of the most exciting nights, in my opinion, in the NBA postseason thus far. Before we get into some of the storylines that I want to weigh in on, that I want to sound off on, let's look at my picks from last night. So I actually did pretty well. I went 2-1. I've been riding with the Nets all postseason long, and I'm glad I don't have to do that anymore. The misery ends. The Nets are out. I don't have to bet on this team. Thank God, because I have tried getting on the Nets side what feels like the entire season. I mean, I had this damn team making out of the East, and they let me down all season long. So the Nets got wrong. They did not cover the -1. They lost this game. They got swept by the Boston Celtics. I got the Raptors right, +8. Not to mention, they won that game outright. That was a double win. And then I got the Mavs right. Mavs -3. They smoked the Utah Jazz as the Mavs have a chance to make it on to the next round for the first time with Luka Doncic in a Mavs uniform. So we're going to begin. And we're first going to start with the Toronto Raptors. This is a team that was down 0-3 a couple days ago. People like myself were already talking about the positives of the season, looking ahead to next season. Then this team wins game 4. And before winning game 4, Nick Nurse provided us with one of the coldest quotes, and it'll be one of the most legendary quotes if it actually comes through. He said, somebody's got to do it. You get to 3-1. 3-1's been done before. Raptors win game 4. You think, okay, Raptors played a lot of pride. They're at home. They're not going to get swept. They're better than that. Monday night was the game that I said, if the Raptors won that game, they would make me a believer. The Raptors didn't just win that game on Monday night in Philly. They dominated the Philadelphia 76ers. The Raptors. It seemed like a blowout. It seemed like a rout from the get-go. Philadelphia never really held the lead. I think they only led once early first quarter. Other than that, it was the Raptors showing what they are capable of doing without Fred VanVleet, throwing out that big lineup. Siakam came to play. OG, Precious Achiuwa had a great outing from off the bench. He had 17 and 7. He made Embiid's life misery as Embiid got burned by Achiuwa on so many occasions, and Embiid did not look like himself. This Raptors long, big lineup really rattled the Philadelphia 76ers. And it got so bad that while fans in Toronto, in Jurassic Park, were getting soaked by the rain watching their team on the big board, the Philadelphia 76ers fans were already headed for the exits. What a vast difference in the fan bases. Philadelphia is in big trouble. The fans feel it, the media feels it, and I guarantee you the players are starting to feel it. As Doc Rivers can show a poker face, Embiid can try to pretend that everything's okay. But just a couple days ago, Embiid was saying, we're going to finish this in a sweep, and now they got to go back to Toronto for a game 6, as Precious Achiuwa alluded to. Those fans are going to be ready to go, and you better believe that crowd's going to be rocking on Thursday night. That might be one of the most historic Raptor crowds that we have seen in quite some time. Philadelphia should be ashamed of themselves. Now, I know the Raptors still got to win 2 straight games, which is a tough task to win this series and make NBA history. But Philadelphia to even leave the door open like this, and now they look like the team that is the underdog. They look like the team that has to overcome adversity, has to play up against the Raptors team that they're looking confident. And they believe right now. That is a group that believes. They are playing with house money. Guys are buying in, and that defense is looking scary. They limited Embiid again, and Embiid has not been the same since it was announced that he's been dealing with some thumb injury. James Harden has been a complete afterthought over these last 2 games. Where the hell is James Harden? Danny Green almost scored as many points as James Harden. Tobias Harris had more points than James Harden. And I saw a stat this morning. OG Anunoby has scored more points than James Harden this series so far. Philadelphia must be pissed off that they got to see this go down. And I know some of their fans. And I know they're nervous right now. They were acting like everything was okay. Okay, the Raptors got one. Philadelphia's going to blow them out in Game 5. But the way the Sixers lost that game, their own fans are starting to think, oh my goodness, is this actually going to happen? Is this nightmare actually going to come true? Doc Rivers, the king of blowing leads, he's blown 3-3-1 leads in his NBA career. If there's ever going to be a coach to be on the wrong side of NBA history and blow the first ever 3-0 lead, it is Doc Rivers. And the Raptors just forcing this Game 6 are already a part of some NBA history. They become just the 14th team in NBA history to force a Game 6 after being down 0-3. And if they can force a Game 7 back in Philly for Saturday, they'll become the third team in NBA history to do that. But keep in mind, no team has ever done the unthinkable, and that is do the reverse sweep. Down 0-3, go on to win the series in 7. The Raptors believe they can do that. And I'm weirdly optimistic about it, man. It's still going to be incredibly tough, but my tone has changed because I saw what everybody else saw on Monday night. The Raptors look like the team that was about to close out that series. The Sixers look like the team that was rattled, that was wounded, that was about to get eliminated. And B's not 100%. I don't think Harden has it in him. Playoff Harden's on full display right now. Maxi's cooled off tremendously. The Sixers are missing wide open shots, and that defense of the Raptors is rattling them. And now for the Raptors, even without Fred VanVleet, they look really good out there. Siakam has found some confidence again after that dud of a game in Game 3. Scotty Barnes looks like Magic Johnson, impacting game in so many ways, dropping dimes, playing great defense. OG's hitting big-time shots. Achua looks like a steal for the Raptors. I called it way back when they traded for him. Still so young, so raw. Kem Birch has been producing well. The Raptors are getting hot at the right time, and the Sixers are cooling off at the worst time. And it's not just people within Toronto that believes Philadelphia could blow this. We're about to play a clip from Charles Barkley, who said this after the Raptors forced a Game 6. Roll the tape.
And now you got to go to Toronto and play Game 6 Thursday.
Well, they got no chance of winning Thursday. It's a 7-game series now. Look, no chance. No chance. Toronto, listen, Toronto, the way they played tonight, right? They think they're going to win the series.
I believe that.
Yeah, they think they're going to win the series. So that place is going to be rocking Thursday. We need to go up to Jurassic Park.
Oh, let's go.
Come on, let's do this.
I love that bit. I know Charles Barkley has always been a big fan of the Raptors, but he sees what everybody else is seeing right now. I think this is going to 7-2. I can't see the Raptors losing Game 6. They have all the momentum in their corner. The Sixers have all the pressure in theirs. Game 6 is going to be such a rocking crowd, both inside, outside of the building. The Raptors are going to feed off that. Philadelphia better get ready because they are going to have to play a Game 7 on Saturday at home, and they will have a chance to be on the wrong side of history. I still can't believe it's gotten to this point. Philadelphia, if this actually happens, they are going to get absolutely destroyed online. I feel like the internet is finally going to break because they got the cast of guys that we can all poke fun at for years to come. Embiid, who was ultra cocky, Harden, who continues to add to his terrible playoff legacy, Doc Rivers, the choker that he is, and just Philadelphia, knowing that they have those crazy fans, knowing that those fans will turn on you. As we saw in this game, they were booing the Sixers in the second quarter as the Sixers were up 3-1 in the series. They'll turn on this thing fast. So I'm pretty confident now, as you can tell. I think the Raptors force a Game 7. They'll make further history, and they'll have a chance to be the one. That's where I'm at with this whole thing right now. This thing has turned on its head. I can't believe it, but it's looking like it may become a reality. And if somehow the Raptors pull this off, we might need a championship parade type of celebration before the second round, because this would feel honestly, like a mini championship. If the Raptors somehow make history and beat, of all teams, the Sixers and this cast and crew to become the first team in NBA history, they would be immortalized forever. Wow. There's a lot of excitement right now in Toronto, and the buzz is just going to keep on getting bigger and bigger because there's 2 full days to digest this, as Game 6 will be on Thursday night in Toronto. So that's the Raptors and where they are right now. Let's look at the rest of the Eastern Conference, and most notably, the first team eliminated. As people thought the Raptors might have been the first team eliminated from these playoffs, it's the Brooklyn Nets. With those stars, with KD, Kyrie, they got swept by the Boston Celtics. And like I said, I'm embarrassed to even say that I thought this Nets team would get out of the East. And they got wiped by the Celtics. Kevin Durant, everybody's taking shots at him. So much so that he actually took shots at Charles Barkley today on his Instagram. You could tell it's getting to KD already. It's only going to get worse. And what's funny out of all this is that Goran Dragic, ex-Raptor, said he had higher ambitions, which is why he quit on the Raptors and ultimately joined the Nets. Guess what? The Raptors are still in the playoffs. The Nets got swept. You literally cannot make this up. Unbelievable. I have no words. I'm just as shocked. I did not think the Brooklyn Nets were going to get swept. And there was a meme I saw. I don't know if we can cue it up here, but Lakers running into the Nets in Cancun. That's exactly what it's going to be like. The finals didn't even sniff the second round. And it's the first time in 17 years that neither LeBron or KD will be in the second round. LeBron didn't even make the play-in, and KD got swept in the first round. These were 2 teams that a lot of people had meeting up in the NBA Finals just because of the sheer talent they had. And it begs the question, super teams look dead. Super teams look dead. You look at the state of the NBA right now, the legitimate teams, the Boston Celtics, they got a bunch of guys that they developed. The Phoenix Suns, the same thing. The Memphis Grizzlies, everybody they drafted. Dallas Mavericks, they go out and get Luca through the draft via trade. The Bucks, the same thing. They draft Giannis. They build around him. They develop Middleton, et cetera, et cetera. Super teams are dead. I think gone are the days of just trying to go out and buying a team thinking that they're going to win. I'm not a believer of super teams anymore. This was the final straw for me. Look at the Warriors too. Growing talent again. Clay, Steph, Poole, Kuminga. You look at the super teams that have tried to do it over the years, it has not been successful. The exception are the Warriors, but they already had that establishment there. KD joined an already team that was capable, an already built team that was capable of winning the championship. But you look at the Lakers over the years, the Nets over the years, even some of the other super teams in the past. The Clippers. That's not the way to win championships now. We are seeing almost a new era in the NBA where it's teams that are building through the draft. Look at the Toronto Raptors, perfect example. They lose Kawhi Leonard, and now the Raptors have had more success than Kawhi since that departure. The Raptors have gone on to draft studs, to develop guys like OG, Siakam, Van Vliet, and draft a stud in Scotty Barnes, who looks like a superstar, future superstar. So going back to this whole Nets thing, who knows what's next for this team? It said that Steve Nash not going to get fired. I don't know how. Kyrie says he wants to run it back, but where's KD's head at? There's memes and stuff saying that he's going to join the Celtics as next chapter, go back to the Warriors, but this is a bad look on Kevin Durant's legacy. It's one thing to be ousted out of the first round. LeBron did that a couple years ago. They lost against the Suns or last year. But to get swept, I know those games were close. All 4 of them could have been won by the Nets, or all 3 of the 4. That is not good from the so-called best player in the NBA right now. So the Brooklyn Nets are going to have a long offseason, and it's not going to be easy. They got to deal with the coaching situation. They got to deal with their 2 superstars. Are they going to be able to further coexist? And then they got to deal with Ben Simmons, who that story has just been a joke on its own. If you were following the show yesterday, I ripped Ben Simmons because I don't even know if this dude's going to be ready for next season with the way he's going. So I'm completely off the Brooklyn Nets. I'm never going to bet on this team again. I'm never going to think this team's winning a championship with this current cast because this is just downright embarrassing. And look, you got to give the Boston Celtics their flowers. The Celtics are now the second most favorite team to win the NBA title after this dominating sweep performance, and rightfully so. This is a team that looks very sound, very few weaknesses. That defense is lethal. They got a budding superstar in Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown has been awesome. So it's no surprise that the two teams atop of that list are the Warriors and Celtics, which is now the favored NBA Finals matchup from what we've seen. And I agree with that. If I had to go back and do it all over, I would say Warriors come out of the West, which I should have stuck with that pick. I stupidly went back to the Suns. And in the East, I think it's going to be Celtics or Heat, but I think it will be the Celtics ultimately. So that could very well be the NBA Finals that we get. There's still a lot of basketball to be played. But I tell you, man, there's been a lot of craziness already. This NBA postseason has had so much parity in the first round that I honestly don't know what to expect. It feels like March Madness vibes where you don't know what's going to happen. Moving on to the next thing I want to talk about now. We got some big games tonight. NBA playoffs, man. It's must-see TV every night, it feels. And I want to look at the two matchups that are going to be taking place in particular. T-Wolves at Grizzlies, Pelicans at Suns. My question is, and one that I'll answer, is who's in bigger trouble right now? The Phoenix Suns or the Memphis Grizzlies? How polarizing is this? In the Eastern Conference, the number 1 and the number 2 seeds look flawless, look like they could do no wrong. Celtics sweep, he could close it out tonight in a game 5 against the Hawks, which I think they'll do. But then in the West, the top 2 seeds actually have a chance at being ousted in the first round. You got the Suns without D-Book, who are tied with the Pelicans, who have showed a lot of life, game 5 tonight. And you got the Timberwolves testing the Grizzlies. And remember, the T-Wolves right now should be up 3-1 if they didn't blow that big lead twice. So which team is most in trouble? I'm actually going to say the Memphis Grizzlies are. As it was just announced that Ja Morant has officially won the Most Improved Player of the Year. I agree with that pick. But now the Most Improved Player of the Year has to show up because the Timberwolves have looked better than the Grizzlies in this series. I got to say it. The Timberwolves look like a team that can make a lot of noise. And right now, I don't know if Ja Morant can step up to the occasion and put forth a big-time effort. They need to win tonight. If the Grizzlies lose tonight, this series is done. Minnesota might wrap it up in 6. The reason why I'm a little bit more optimistic with the Suns is because the Pelicans are a very young team. The Suns have proven that they can win without Devin Booker this season. I know Chris Paul had a very bad game last game. He needs to step up tonight. But I think Phoenix, being there last year, finally facing some adversity in the first couple of rounds here, first round in particular, I think they know what it takes to win these games. And they are a team that overall have been good in the clutch. And I do want to mention this. There is no Scott Foster tonight in Phoenix, which is a big reason why I'm even more optimistic. If Scott Foster was officiating tonight, Phoenix would be in trouble. But he's not officiating. Phoenix should be able to win tonight. The Grizzlies concern me more because the T-Wolves have looked like the better team from start to finish. And I think the T-Wolves' biggest obstacle right now is themselves. Sometimes we see they get out to a big lead, they're complacent, they get into foul trouble. If they can limit the mistakes and they do not beat themselves, this is going to be a tough team to beat 2 more times in the series. So I think the Grizzlies are in some serious trouble. And I called it at the start. I said, if there's one top seed that was going to be upset, it's going to be the Grizzlies. I thought that team that was going to do it were the Clippers, but obviously the Pelicans made the play-in instead. The T-Wolves made the play-in instead, beating the Clippers the first time. And I said, this Grizzlies team, do not be surprised if they get upset. So tonight will be huge if the T-Wolves can go into Memphis and win that game. So that's going to lead us to some picks tonight to close out the show. I went 2-1 last night. Let's keep it going here. First game we're going to look at, Hawks Heat. I might have given away my prediction already. I like the Heat tonight to close out the series. I think they're going to cover by at least 6.5 points. Kyle Lowry, I don't think he's going to be going for this one again, but the Heat have proven that they can win without him. And you know what? If you are the Heat, I would rest Kyle Lowry tonight. There's no need to play him in this game. Rest him up for the second round and for the later rounds, which is why you brought him onto this team. I think the Heat, being at home, they're going to be ready to go. And I do think they close it out tonight. So I like the Heat minus 6.5. The next game, Timberwolves at Grizzlies. Grizzlies 6-point favorites. I'm going with the T-Wolves. I smell an upset tonight. And at the very least, I think this is going to be a couple of possessions that decide this one. I really like what the T-Wolves have been doing. Cat is coming off a very good performance. They need more of that. You're looking at a star to be in Anthony Edwards, D'Lo. I mean, that big three has come up big. The T-Wolves defense has done a good job, particularly Pat Beverly on John Morant. I think if the Grizzlies do win tonight, it's going to be tough. So I will take the points with the T-Wolves. And then the final game, Pelicans at Suns. I was going back and forth because I did note that Scott Foster would not be officiating, because if he was, I literally would take the Pelicans, probably on the money line. I'd be as crazy as that, because you do not go against that stat. Chris Paul is 0-14 lifetime against Scott Foster in the playoffs. But now that I see who's officiating this game, I would not be surprised if the Suns blow out the Pelicans, but I will stick with the Pelicans keeping this a game. I will take the points again. Give me the Pelicans plus 6.5. I think BI is going to continue from what he did last game. And I really like what Jonas Valanciunas is doing down there right now. And I think the Suns not having D-Book, we've seen it. If they get down early, this is a team that struggled to score. And the Pelicans have a plethora of players who can score. And I cannot praise Herb Jones enough for what he's done in this series defensively. So Suns might be in trouble with D-Book. They were last game, and it might linger here. But I do think the Suns win tonight. They're going to be at home. I think they're going to feed off that crowd, and they will go up 3-2. So those are my picks. The recap, I like the Heat tonight, minus 6.5, the T-Wolves plus 6, and the Pelicans plus 6.5. That's my 3-team parlay for the night. That's going to conclude today's show of Laying the Points with Luca Rosano. Let me know what you think of the show. Who do you like in tonight's games? You can catch us live every single Monday through Friday. We're going to be returning to studio soon. We stream live 1 p.m. Eastern time, Twitter, YouTube, Parlay TV, you name it. And I'll be back at it again tomorrow, looking back at the night that was in the NBA and other key storylines in sports. This is Luca Rosano signing off. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the games. I'll catch you all tomorrow. Take care.